Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to my best chess games of all time series. So in this series we follow the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and today I wanted to show you really a cool game played by Robert Hartoch. Robert Hartoch was a strong international master from Netherlands, although he's not maybe one of the most famous chess players that have been played in the last century, but you see this game really deserves to be on this list of the best chess games of all time, because in this game we'll have not only one but two queen sacrifices by Robert Hartoch, and this game really is an attractive one to watch with some great tactical motifs. So the game was played in 1972 against Hans Joachim Hecht. Hans Joachim Hecht, also a strong master from the last century, but in this game he got really outplayed by Robert Hartoch, who was among other things also the European youth chess champion, and deserves really to be all of our respect, and deserves, as I said, to be on this chess list of the best chess games of all time. If you see Robert Hartoch's picture, he was always smoking when he was playing chess. He looks like Mikhail Tal a little bit, but okay, he's far away from Mikhail Tal's I think imaginations in chess. But as I said, this game is well, at least 50% of Mikhail Tal. So let's see the game. Knight to f3, played by Robert Hartoch, knight to f6, and now we have c4, e6, and now g3. This is now a preparation, because we don't want to play immediately d4. This d4 move leads into maybe this Nxe Indian setup with bishop to b4, so that's why here black tried this Bogo Indian setup with the first move b6, then after that bishop to b7, and challenging also white's bishop on g2. So bishop to g2 was played, bishop to b7, we have castling, and you see now black is forced to play the move bishop to e7 immediately, not to push the pawn here immediately on d5, because you haven't secured your king. There is one rule in chess: you shouldn't push pawns, so you shouldn't open the center when your king is in the center. So that's why here bishop to e7, and you see this bishop to b4 idea doesn't work anymore because white is already castled. So that's why b3 here by Robert Hartoch. It's also a common idea to play this double fianchetto setup, bringing simply your bishops on the best diagonals. Here castling, bishop to b2, and now we have c5. Here e3, played by Robert Hartoch, with the preparation to play the move d4. But this d4 has to be, I think, even more prepared, because what you don't want to do is to stay with your queen on the same file. If the position gets simplified, if we get trades of queens in an early stage of the game, then you don't have so many winning chances. So that's why after the move e3 and d6, here queen to e2 was played, simply hiding the queen a little bit, and then prepare rook to d1 move, and then try this d4 pawn breakthrough, bringing simply the rook on the same file like the black queen, and then try to open the position. So in the game, knight from b to d7 was played, knight to c3, we have a6. This a6 move, not that it only prepares this potential b5 pawn breakthrough, it also prevents this jump of the knight on b5, because if the position, as I said, clears in the center, then after knight to b5 and the rook to d1, then this d6 pawn could be a long-term weakness. So that's why a6, a great idea here by black, and in the game rook to d1 played by Hartoch. Here rook to b8 was played by Hans Joachim Hecht, and now finally d4, opening the position in the center. Knight to e4 was played, and here knight takes e4. There is one idea I analyzed, it's the move d5. It seems now after a potential e5 move, of course you cannot do that, you have to first secure your knight here. After potential knight to c3 and bishop takes c3 and a potential e5 move, this is not a good position for black, because first of all this bishop is blocked out by this pawn structure in the center, and this bishop is blocked out by its own pawn, so this bishop's activity is not good. But what black can do in this position is after bishop takes c3 is to take out the pawn here on d5, and after c takes d5, now you see black has accomplished that. Here he has this pawn majority, he has this 3 versus 2 situation on the queen side, and this is not a good position, I think, here for white, because you have to take care of this pawn storm on the queen side. So that's why in the game, after knight takes e4, knight to e4, we have knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, and now knight to e1 played by Robert Hartoch, not to push the pawn here on d5. After potential trades of the bishops, then it's good maybe to play the move d5. Here in the game, bishop takes g2, what was played, knight takes g2, and now b5. You see, if for instance here black tries a passive move like rook to e8, then we could try maybe finally to push this pawn on d5. After potential e takes d5, we have rook takes d5, and now you see this weakness of this d6 pawn. Now we can simply double up pawns and try to attack this pawn further, and this backward pawn would be really a long-term weakness. For instance, if you try again to pass through with your pawn here on e5, then again you have the problems of the bishop. So that's why here Hans Joachim Hecht had to be active, I think, but it's really hard again to push this pawn on d5, again opening the center somehow. Here Hans Joachim Hecht tried the counterplay on the queen side with the move b5, and here Robert Hartoch simply took, and here Hans Joachim Hecht made well, it's an inaccuracy because he played c takes d4 and allowed now Robert Hartoch to take the pawn here on a6. Okay, you can grab this pawn, it's not a problem, but after knight takes e3, we have now a situation in which basically white has 3 pass pawns on the queen side. Okay, you have the pawn central control here, which is a very good thing, but you lost too many pawns, and this pawn storm is hard to battle against, because we can simply try here b5, a4, a5, simply pushing this pawns further. If this pawns, for instance 2 pawns, if you get them on the 6th rank, then it's basically game over. So I'm not sure about this calculations of Hecht. I think he made a mistake here by going into this particular line, but okay, now he tried rook to e8 with the preparation maybe to play bishop to f8 and try to push his pawns in the center, but it's too late. I think here simply rook to c1, a very active move by Robert Hartoch. Here we have d5, and now rook to c6, a very important move to occupy now the 6th rank. So far the rook cannot be attacked, which is a good thing. If for instance rook to c8 is played, then we can try rook to c1, and again doubling up rooks on the c file and get our queen also on the c file, because I think black has lost a little bit the battle here on the c file. So that's why here I think white has a comfortable game. So in the game, queen to a5 was played, and now bishop to c3. This is a very tricky move by Robert Hartoch. There is a line, if you try queen to a3, then your queen could get trapped, because now you get knight to c2. Where to go with your queen? You have to take the pawn here on a2, and now you get rook to a1. Okay, you can try queen to b3, but now knight to d4. Great tactical preparation here by Robert Hartoch. You don't have good squares for the queen, you lose the queen in the next move and probably the game. So that's why after the move bishop to c3, here Hans Joachim Hecht played bishop to b4, covering the queen, but now we have a deflection move a7. Of course this is very tricky, because if you take this pawn, then you get rook to a6 and similar ideas. Again, you have some worries with your queen. Here the bishop is also a little bit endangered. We have many great tactical possibilities, again, just to occupy some space. That's why here in the game, rook to a8 was played by Hans Joachim Hecht, getting first this rook behind, maybe try to get this pawn with the rook. But in the game, rook to a6 as said was played, again attacking the queen, deflecting it from the defense of the bishop. So here queen to c5 was played, and now again bishop to d4, simply annoying here the queen. The queen has to retreat again, and here Hans Joachim Hecht played really a passive move, queen to f8. But there are really no better squares basically for black to go with the queen. Now the queen is really on a weird square here on f8, and this moment Robert Hartoch uses immediately and plays simply queen to b5, getting the queen really actively into the game. And now this knight doesn't have also good squares. If you try maybe knight to f6, I think we can even take out this knight, simply doubling up pawns, again weakening further the pawn structure in front of black's king. And this pawn here is really a monster pawn. I'm not seeing a clear way how to attack this pawn anymore. So after the move queen to b5, rook to e8 was played, and see how all of these pieces of blacks are really simply used as defensive pieces. They're simply participating in the defense, they're not counterplaying anything. and here rook to c1. You see, on the other hand, white's pieces are playing in such a great harmony. They have good diagonals, good files, good squares to find here. The rook to c6 now is again a huge possibility. Simply too active play here by white. So bishop to d6. Here Hecht tried maybe an e5 move, sort of a pawn breakthrough, but here f4 played by Hartoch, simply preventing these ideas. Still, you have to worry also about your d5 pawn, so I'm not seeing good moves anyway for black here. Basically, black is really cramped here. Black is basically lost here. So knight to f6, we have rook to c6, and now knight to e4, trying to get some kind of an activity with this knight, but now queen to b7, and now f6 was played. Now finally Hecht is trying this move e5. He has prepared it, but it's again too late, because here we have a very nice move f5. If you of course take, then we can take out this pawn on d5 or the very important f5. Then you get the knight on a very active square. In the combination with the queen, we have also then the target here on g7, so the queen would be a little bit stuck to the defense of this g7. Again, black is too passive. In the game, queen to e8 was played, and now bishop to b6, attacking the rook. And here Hans Joachim Hecht tried queen to a5. This is seems now like maybe Hartoch has made some mistakes, because now the queen can go onto a very active square on e2 or on f3, trying maybe some dangerous f2 checks. But here Hartoch calculate, I think, this tactics very good. He played queen takes a8, sacrificing the queen. After rook takes a8, here rook to c8. If you, for instance, take the rook on c8, then we have rook takes c8. Again, you have only one square with your king. Here king to f7, and now we can promote to another queen. Here black can try maybe to play this idea, to play this move queen to f3 with a dangerous check on f2, but it's really only one check, because we have queen to a7 first you get checked. You have to cover with your bishop because it's checkmate. You have to do that, and now you can try simply f takes e6, and after potential king to g6, it seems now that black has covered everything, but now we can try simply rook to c2, covering this f2 square, and I think again it's game over. This knight is protecting, so everything is perfectly fine. We're continuing the game in a simply better position. The king is endangered. We have also again two pass pawns, and simply winning position for white. So that's why after this move rook to c8, here black didn't take the rook on c8. Black tried here king to f7, but now we have rook to a8 anyway, and now Hans Joachim Hecht tried here the move queen to e2 with the preparation to play this very dangerous queen to f2 check. But if you evaluate this position from black's perspective, still there is only one check and nothing else for black. In the game, rook to f8 was played, a very important move, getting the queen again on the 8th rank. After bishop takes f8, we have queen to a8, the promotion, and here we have a knight to g5 with the preparation to play knight to f3 and then to checkmate here on h2, because here if you try this move, as I said, this queen to f2 move, it doesn't bring you so much, because we have king to h1, simply hiding the queen. King, you have still one check, queen to f3, but now knight to g2 covers everything, and you see now knight to f2 is not a possibility anymore, because the bishop is covering that square. So that's why this is not something that black wants to do. But again, this is again a completely winning endgame here for white, because after the move promotion to 8, here knight to g5 was played by Hecht, and it seems now that really white has made some mistakes, because I'm not seeing a good line how to protect this f3 or this h3 square. But here Robert Hartoch found again a great tactical motif. He played first f takes e6, we have king takes king to g8, and now we have queen to f8. There is only also one particular line. If you, for instance, take the pawn here with the king, then you get checkmate, and even faster we have queen to d5. You have only one square here to go with your king to e7, and now knight to f5, a very dangerous check, and after king to e8 we have rook to c8, and it's checkmate. So that's why after this move, f takes e6, you see black tried king to g8, and now Robert Hartoch simply sacrificed another queen. Queen takes f8, we have king takes f8, now we have rook to c8. You have only one square with your king, you have to go here on e7, but now very nice move, knight to f5, creating this very dangerous check. Again, you have only one square, you have only this square e6, you have to take the pawn, and after king takes e6, knight to d4 was played, the fork on the king on the queen, and it's game over in this position. Hans Joachim Hecht resigned. Robert Hartoch played really a great tactical game. So great attacking flow sort of by Robert Hartoch, sacrificing two queens. I hope you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot with two sacrifices. It's not that we see often two queen sacrifices in one game by one player, so I think this game really deserves to be on our list of the best chess games of all time. Meanwhile, you can watch my other best chess games from the series. Here's the link, and you can also watch my other commented chess games from some current tournaments and other things that are going on in the chess world. And you can also watch my commented chess games played by computer with some Alpha Zero, Lila Zero, Stockfish, and many more. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.